The answer always is to complain. Anariel, you're standing on top of the great tower of Orthanc. You look over the valley of Nan Coronir of Isengard, and close to you, the once verdant and well kept gardens of Orthanc are given over entirely to the artifice of war. There's trenches dug and fortifications built in all directions, and what were once neatly manicured trees and gardens now look like zigzags of trenches and iron. And they stretch from the base of the tower to the inner wall, all of which has recently been built by dwarves with dwarfish spells. And then there's the open ground in between that leads to the outer wall, which are the ancient massive walls of Isengard, which are woven with spells, I think, said to be unbreakable. And from there, the valley of Isen spreads out, and each mountain pass that leads into this valley has been collapsed by dwarven engineers to ensure that the enemy can only approach from one direction. The small gap within the mountains that allows the river Isen to pass out into Rohan. The break in the mountains there is about a mile across, and that's where the enemy will first enter into the valley. And below there are thousands of warriors of men and elves and dwarves, and you blink your eyes, and then the enemy is here. Flame and shadow and death. And the outer wall is smashed to pieces, and heroes are battling against hordes of orcs being torn apart, driven back, falling from the wall. And the sky is black, and the clouds are thick, with thunder overhead, and you are alone. And you turn to rush to the battle, but you come face to face with a familiar figure. This thing that you've seen in your dreams many times. Has the look of Numenor, but twisted and broken and not quite the way that it's supposed to look. It has no helmet, or no eyes on its helmet, and somehow still seems to regard you. It turns its head strangely to one angle and then to the other. And it says, although there is thunder and it's so loud and you can hear down below all the screaming and shouting, you can hear its voice very clearly. Thou needst not suffer so, Nariel Adris. Thou hast too many burdens upon thy shoulders. All he seeks is what was taken from him. Canst thou not see? He wishes no harm to thee and thine. I have told you many times prophecy. Every time I show you what will happen if you refuse. Death and destruction, all parts of this Middle Earth. Easy for you to simply give me a ring. He will reward you greatly. You would live forever as queen. The kings of men are long broken, and the serpents are rent in twain. The might of the shadow has awoken, and thine efforts shall be in vain. Mouth opens into some sort of a grin, maybe. Its mouth is far too big, and it has these massive sharp teeth, and the lips are cracked and broken all over. And it sort of smiles at some sort of response. Thy hopeful words, hollow. Too weak are the kings of men. Death and darkness follow. The Dark Lord shall rule again. And you wake, reassured. Maybe. You are, all of you, in a council chamber around the big table, the massive black stone table that Saruman has. You're eating breakfast. Towers and fortifications have been built all over the mountains that lead into the valley, Arahad says. We have set up catapults, ballistas, and other siege equipment that we can fire down upon them as they advance. We'll be able to thin their numbers from there if they don't find a way to deal with these outposts. And beyond this first fortification, he points at a map with his butter knife, and Saruman quickly reaches out and takes his hand and moves it back so he doesn't get any crumbs on the expensive map. He apologizes. The valley opens up here, and this is where the outer wall has been built. And over the past months, you would know the dwarfish engineers have been building, seeing to the construction of redirecting the River Isen into a moat and building a wall that spans the wider part of the valley. So he points at that. And here, he points at a bunch of places. We have set up siege encampments where the dwarves will use their artifice to fire at the approaching armies. But this is where the hammer will fall hardest, and we do not know what that means or how that will look exactly. But this is the place we must defend. He turns to look at Lord Elrond, who is also poring over the map. And he says, "We cannot truly hope to defeat them in battle. Even with this, the greatest assembled force of our age, we cannot hope to stand against the enemy. They will strike hardest against this outer wall, and that's where the hammer will fall. And they may try to circumvent the wall, attack other positions, but they cannot get to the ring without breaking through this outer wall. That is our bastion, and that is our shield." "What about the flying servants of the Dark Lord?" Gurney asks. "Nazgul have been seen riding fell beasts, and in ages past he commanded dragons and other fell things that fly. What are we to do about that?" "And the artifice of elves?" "Often these beasts are proof against our arrows. Too large, their skin too thick to be pierced. We would need to use siege equipment to try and fire at them, but they move too quickly to do that. You will have to respond wherever they land." Yeah, when you say concerted effort, Glindair, there's a flash of darkness and cold, and when you like let out a breath, it's steaming. The first choice stands before you. These outposts, and he points. So there's a Isengard is a circle, like with its back against a mountain, and all around it is a circle of mountains that lead to this like one point where the river comes through, and that's like the only way into this valley now. Or it's like collapsed all the other passes. I mean, you could climb over the mountains, but that's not for you think for orcs. Um, and so all along that entranceway, they've placed catapults and things like that to try and fire on the enemy as they come through. You could go here and try to protect these catapults from whatever comes at them. That will likely be the Nazgul themselves. Or we can accept that this is a sacrifice that we are willing to make. People who are there already have accepted that. Perhaps you are needed most on the wall. Swifter than a flying beast, I think unlikely. Yeah, it's felt by everyone, I think, who's there and who's discussing it. The fact that like there is an acceptable amount of life that can be lost for the sake of the world. The unforging is already underway, and I would imagine that Sauron's forces will arrive at any moment. Little time there. Yes, Saruman says, and you can tell that he's not particularly comfortable with the prospect of using the Palantir, but you can see the worth in it. Let's just take a real quick break to see if we can get Caius started. Okay, so um, Saruman will take you now to the Palantir, if you wish. Whoosh! You're standing in this dark room, and there's all around the place like these strange items on plinths and hanging from the walls. Some kind of reliquary or something, a treasury that Saruman has. Um, and at the center, there's like this central platform, and something circular lies on this platform with a thick black cloth over it. Saruman moves to one side of it and says, "There were 7 Palantiri brought to Middle Earth by Elendil, and in Arnor and Gondor. They were spread, but many of the stones have been lost or unaccounted for. Lost over the ages to the enemy. You use this stone, Aroth. Sauron will be able to communicate with you directly. He will not hold back."
Grounds his feet. Sorry, Caius, are we not being heard?
No,
I can hear you.
There was a
that was on the YouTube field, on the YouTube chat.
Okay,
Robert.
Okay, I think it's fixed now. I can see the little bar moving or whatever, so it should be fine.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so Farrell stands before this plinth, looking at this black cloth, and he takes a hand and puts it upon it, takes a deep breath, and swiftly pulls the cloth aside and looks into the heart of this stone.
It looks
you hear
like
Beragron take a breath behind you, take a sharp intake of breath as it's revealed, but then he puts his hand on your shoulder.
it looks like a large black marble. It doesn't look much grander than that, but you can hear already whispering from it. Some sense that something in there is trying to, immediately upon being revealed, trying to communicate.
Faroth will look into this thing and he will speak. You see me. The Dark Lord sees all. That is what I told our forces upon the slopes of Gundabad. There, where you witnessed the courage of men, the might of the dwarves, and the wisdom of the elves. And you see them here now, before the Tower of Orthanc. I know this does not sway you. You are the Dark Lord Sauron, the Deceiver. And now, after all this time, after all that we have done, I finally know the truth. You see what you want to see. You deceive yourself. Where you would find the remnants of a failed alliance, there stands the free people of Middle-earth. and they will fight in defiance of everything you crave. Look now, for I tell no lie, and see what you have hunted for, what you have destroyed entire cultures for. The One Ring. It is in our grasp, and every second brings us closer to its destruction. Without it, you are but a shadow, a pale shadow that will be rushed away by the coming of a swift sunrise. You are alone, and we are together. For Syrian, for Cyneric, for Nar Ironfoot, and Gandalf the Grey, we will stop you. March your forces hard, Dark Lord, for by the blood of Numenor that runs through my veins, these passing days will mark your end. And he just fixes his eyes deep into the darkness of this thing and waits.
A few things that happen at once. There's a shock immediately of like a burning eye. You can like see it and feel it, the heat and like the scream and this pain of flames. Make me a wisdom save, please.
Yes. Is this a fear effect?
It is not a fear effect.
That is a 19.
You take 20 psychic damage. You can feel that you have had a major effect. In response, you can feel Sauron's mind digging in your own, like some connection is made. And you are remembering things, like all these memories are flashing up inside you. You remember falling off a horse when you were a kid, and that suddenly appears, and the face of your mother, and fighting the King in Silver, and every experience that you've had just... and he's looking for something. You can tell he's like looking for evidence of the ring, like some proof that you've seen it. And you remember the cave below Methydras and the sight of the ring, and then you can feel this desire and will that's so strong that it almost makes you sick. And for a minute you think, how could you ever have hoped to stand against this? You're a worm, you're nothing. And he has laid bare every part of you and turned it inside out to find this evidence. And he knows the ring is here. But then he recognizes something about you, something that gives him pause for a second. And you feel him try to shrug it off like it doesn't matter. And then he looks into the chamber of the ring where you have been, and he can see Galadriel, and the sight of her fills you with burning hatred. You can feel his hate so strong. And Saruman and King Gurney and every person who is there at the unforging. And then he realizes the intent is to unforge the ring, and that is something that he could not imagine. It doesn't make sense to him that anyone could consider destroying the ring. Why would you not use it? He is horrified and cannot, and you can feel his like total confusion and lack of understanding at how that could happen. And the flames grow hotter, white hot, and then there's a shriek of Anarion! Like he recognizes the lineage that you have, and seems to recoil for a moment, unsure of himself. Because he didn't think that there was anyone left from this line. Can you make me an attack roll, please?
With Lactuan?
Yeah.
$27.
The sword, his eye recoils, and he remembers the sting of a blade of the sons of Elendil, and that there is strength in men, and he had sort of hoped that there wasn't, and he realizes now that you are the king from the line of kings, that there is something there. And somewhere within the shattered, hateful mind of Sauron there is doubt, maybe, or fear. And then the connection is severed.
Baroth staggers back, likely into the arms of his friends who were there to support him. A cold sweat wringing down his face.
You hear
And then
Baragon's. You hear Baragon's voice. He's been talking all along, but it hasn't been coming through to you. Son of Fardred, son of Firiel, son of Faramir, son of Artemir, son of Ondohoer, son of Kelimahatar, son of Narsmir II, repeating your lineage all the way back all the way back up to Anarion and Elendil, reminding you and maybe Sauron, if he could hear as well in the background, of your lineage. But then he senses that you're not touching and the contact has been broken, and he says, and you see him gazing into your face. Faroth, are you there? Are you all right? Is it you?
He has sort of a residue feeling of hatred, staring across the room at where Galadriel stands for a moment, and then sort of ebbing away like a candle spluttering on the last bit of wax. That feeling is gone, and it's replaced with a vulnerability he has had his entire life brought before him in a matter of moments and unmade before the might of this enemy. But he looks to you and he says, he has doubt, and now we have hope.
And Baragon sort of tenderly reaches out and just removes a tear that was dribbling down your cheek, and then turns away, a little confused.
Anariel will recover the palantir with the thick black cloth, taking care not to touch it.
Even so, you can feel the force of it, and those rhymes like echo in your mind. And that's just a servant of the Dark Lord. And even so, you can hear the black speech.
Can you stand, Ferath? Are you all right?
I can, yes. Strength still remains to me. But now he will drive towards us all the harder. We have not much time. I suppose we should decide where each of us must stand. My instincts would be for us to remain together. But we are all practiced commanders in our way. Perhaps we would be better served across the field. I'm open to hear some final counsel.
We have no shortage of great commanders here, from men and elves and dwarves. If it can be spared that we stay together, I would stand shoulder to shoulder with the three of you as the hammer of the enemy falls.
Anariel will place a hand upon Glendair's arm and Ferath and look to Baragon standing just behind Ferath. I would not be parted from you, if we can help it.
Yeah, he looks across and gives you think a weak smile. He's not seemed himself since that encounter and since he's reawoken. Even now here in this chamber, with Faroth speaking directly with the Dark Lord and Baragon almost chanting Faroth's own lineage, and Anariel keeping composed and reconciling the marble device of ages afterwards, Glyndire has sort of seemed somewhat numb, standing there in this chamber as it all happened. And he would say, through his weak smile, "Nor are you, dear sister, nor you, King Pharoth."
In Gondor,
And-
there are two. In Gondor, there are two traditions for the sons of Wellborn to follow. One is to join the Rangers of North Ithilien, and that was always my ambition, because men who can strike a blow and then disappear into the shadows, who are never there when the sword falls, moving swiftly and evading the enemy and striking hard. And that has always been my method. But my brothers joined the Knights, the Knights of Minas Tirith, the anvil on which the hammer falls, a force strong enough to take the blows and fight on. And they are also needed. And maybe now is the time for me to explore that second Gondorian tradition and stand at the side of my king and take the blows that land at the same time and guard his back. That would be my choice.
And so we have from the very beginning. We shall stand together and we will fight. Come, friends. It is time.
So you make your way through the siege camp, and you can see all these like zigzag trenches that have been dug, and there are many dwarfish like machines that are sort of beyond your understanding. They've been worked with Saruman. There are strange powders, and there are fires, and there are fuses, and also there are more traditional quarrel throwers, bolt throwers, catapults, trebuchets, mangonels, all sorts of siege equipment placed all over this siege field, and many sort of open fields for which the enemy can filter into so that they can be taken down by archers and other things. This is an ugly kind of war, you think, not upon a glorious battlefield. This is survival. And when you hear stories of ancient days and the wars that were fought then, they never seemed like this. But nonetheless, you stand upon the outer wall. This construction of stone and wood that's been inlaid with dwarfish spells to make them even stronger, built with incredible speed by the dwarves since they arrived. 60 feet below you, the River Isen has been diverted to create a moat. Water is running clear, although maybe you wonder how long it will be before it turns black, orcish blood, or red with your own. And you stand shoulder to shoulder with warriors from all over Middle-earth. And there are elvish archers next to dwarven crossbowmen, next to longbowmen from Gondor, and behind the wall there are more who can fire without seeing, elven archers who can fire an arrow with perfect accuracy even without seeing the target, firing over the wall itself. And on the plains in front of you, you can see the entrance to the valley, the mountains that surround it, and that there are other emplacements of siege weapons all around, dotted around in the mountains, these little outposts. An hour ago, you heard the first sign of them. Scouts returned to say their force was coming, moving like a great black serpent across the plains of Rohan. Seemingly no end. This dark cloud followed them. This thunderous black cloud that seems to follow them with its own design, that covers them from the sunlight so that they do not burn from it, that they do not suffer it, because we all know, and you all know, that the orc and the enemy craves shadow and hates the light. And then you can hear this horn, this long, rumbling, low horn, and it seems to shake the earth. And you hear thousands of voices cry out in this chant. And elven eyes can see now in the distance, at the entrance to the valley, that there are beasts flying above, fell beasts. At the front of them, one much larger than the others, more reptilian in its shape, and atop it sits the Witch King of Angmar, the most mighty of the Dark Lord's servants. Even from here you can sense the dread and power of this thing as it flies with the other Nazgul behind it. Only 8, not 9. Beneath them comes this stream of orcs. Neat squares of orcs, 10 orcs wide and 10 orcs deep, leaving 10 feet between them, moving in this synchronized step. And some are banging drums and some are calling out orders, but they're moving with this really bizarre synchronized step. They look like dwarves marching, in a way. And you can see them funnel through this gap in the mountains and into the Valley of the Eyes, and then there are thousands, tens of thousands. Here and there are massive trolls which are dragging these gigantic siege engines, and great packs of huge wargs ridden by orcs, and more than that there are giants 50 feet tall that are stomping with this army and other strange creatures beyond that even. And then there is a thrum of fire as all these encampments let go of their payloads. Giant boulders and rocks and bolts fly and land heavily among the orcs that are moving. You see boulders like land and skid and just erase, as if on paper, a group of orcs. And bolts pierce through one of the giants 10 times, and he stumbles to one knee, and then stumbles face first into the dirt. Fire is all among their ranks, and bolts are piercing through ranks of orcs. And there is a cheer on the wall of which you are, because it seems perhaps they can be thinned or defeated even, because these siege engines are doing so much work as they enter into the valley, and they have no way of stopping them, it seems. And then one of the Nazgul wheels its beast in the direction of one of the catapults and lands with a crash, crushing the machine and almost certainly laying to waste any who operated it. And the Nazgul move in some kind of unison, all moving in different directions, trying to get to these places. And you can see that even as the Nazgul is flying down towards one of these, a final shot is fired from the catapult to take out more orcs. But it seems that they do have an answer to this. And they just keep coming, endless rows of them, stepping over the bodies of crushed orcs, moving around boulders that have now been placed into their path. And then, high above, the fell beast soars forward, larger than the others, reptilian in aspect. On its back, the Witch King of Angmar, and you can see that he stops at a very specific point. And you would understand that this is the extreme range of any of the weapons that you have, and he knows this. He stops and the creature hovers there. And he looks over what you have wrought here, all of the defenses. He seems to be calculating or trying to understand what's happening. This is a commander who has fought in tens of thousands of battles and has led Sauron's forces to victory endlessly. Orcs keep marching.
Faroth sees the Witch King hovering frustratingly just out of range. And he knows this is the time for people to take heart, if there was any time for it at all. He strides along the part of the wall and he draws the Flame of the North, Lakduan, catching what little light remains of this place, and he holds it aloft as he looks to the arrayed forces of the elves. And in Sindarin, he says, Lako Kala Drago Mo! Flame light. Darkness flees. He then points the blade towards the assembled forces of the dwarves and yells, Baru Khazad! Khazad e Menu! Axes of the dwarves. The dwarves are upon you. Arnor! Gondor! Rohan! Dunland! And he's starting to rouse the spirits of the people of Middle-earth to listen to his words. We stand upon the brink, the twilight of the third age, and a dawn of another. Today I see a sight thought by many to be impossible, a dream made manifest. All cultures of men, elves, and dwarves united beneath the banner of a final alliance, standing side by side in defiance of tyranny and annihilation, ready to fight for our right to live, our right to exist. We see the lines of the enemy approaching. We hear their cries for battle and for blood, and we feel the weight of their endless steps. Let them come with their armies of darkness and break upon our lines like water on rock. Let them clutch for the ring of power while its evil unravels and its master is brought to his final reckoning. Let them witness our glory undimmed before the breaking of the world. For while we, the free people of Middle-earth, stand together, they shall not pass. Let us stand against the shadow. And he lifts his blade high.
Against the shadow!
Radiant light as he points it towards their amassed foe.
Awesome. You can have inspiration. Sick.
Thank you.
Arukazad! Everyone's chanting their war cries and their shields banging, and there's a feeling of hope, maybe. The army moves and continues to move forward. You're faced with a choice. Do you want to try and save these people who are being crushed by the Nazgul? Or are you willing to accept those losses? I think you are.
It doesn't look like there's any way for us to get anyone to them, does it?
Doesn't look good, no.
We shall stand firm to the decision gravely made before, unfortunately.
8 Nazgul are here, not 9. Kamul the Easterling, one of the most ancient of the Nazgul, was bested and defeated and has gone back to the shadow, surely to be reborn again, but not this quickly. And so there are 8, including the Witch King. And as the catapults fire less and less, it seems the Nazgul have done their work and they fly and they hover in the same way, which shouldn't be possible. Birds can't hover and neither should these things, but somehow they do. A line opens and some rider on a black horse rides to the front of this army and stands directly beneath the Witch King, the extreme edge of the range of your weapons. And it turns its head to one side and then to the other and like seems to taste the air with this mouth, this enormous mouth, sharp teeth, broken, cracked lips. And it speaks in a whisper, although you can hear it as if it was right next to your ear. You can almost feel the heat of its breath in your ear. My master, Sauron, bids me give thee a chance to save thyself. An item of great worth was taken from him long ago. Simply return it to him and none of you need die. All of this death, destruction that awaits, it is a shame, really. The theft of one ring taken from its true owner. If there is one among you, teeming wretches who wishes to live forever and be king or queen next to the Dark Lord, wishes to bring peace to this Middle Earth, that all might live beneath his gaze, all you need do is bring the ring to me. You will be given clemency. He sits back in his saddle and looks up. There are no eyes on his helmet either. It seems that he doesn't have any, but he certainly has a mouth to speak, and every single person, you can tell, heard the voice like it was right in their ear, and you can see that many of the people upon the wall are nervous of this magic.
Amidst the murmurs, Glyndire casts his eyes through the ranks of the allied forces gathered here, particularly the men. And his eyes fall lastly on Pharoth, and a doubt, a seed of doubt blooms in Glendire's mind at the weakness of men. If Isildur himself could not do what needed to be done, can Pharoth, son of Fardred? He wonders as he looks at this king.
Sauron has offered men immortality before. He offered it to Ar-Pharazôn, the last of the kings of Numenor, whose power made all the assembled ranks of both Mordor and the free people who are gathered here today seem like but a drop in the ocean. And with that power, he commanded his armies to. Sauron himself kneeled before the power of Ar-Pharazôn, but his words tempted and seduced the men, promising them immortality, promising them that they could not die if they marched against the forces of the West and conquered the lands that offered them immortality. That was a lie, as this one is. Everyone knows the fate of Numenor. That is what happens to those who listen to the promises of immortality that the voice of Sauron offers. I spurn your stupid offer. I embrace death. I am a mortal man doomed to die, and if today is my day of dying, I have no fear in facing it. But I will not surrender myself to undying slavery to Sauron for the rest of eternity. I would rather die a free man than today than live forever in servitude and slavery. He shouts out.
There's a cheer from the wall. Many are heartened by this, and you can hear its chuckle. Very good. Then you will die. You. All of you. Except you that spoke. You will live forever. You have already tasted the sting of Morgul, and you will serve him beyond this life. Very well. Remember when thou art torn apart that Sauron offered you mercy, and it was the cruelty of elves that forced you to die. He looks back and raises a hand, and then horns are blown. And there's like a and siege engines are moved up, pulled by these massive trolls and giants, and they begin to move closer and closer. At the front of this force, currently there are all these massive orcs in black armor. These are the greatest of the Mordor orcs. And as the horn is blown, these wretched, pale pink orcs are shoved to the front, many of them tied in chains, and orc masters whipping them forward. And they send them forth to charge, and they rush ahead. There are thousands of them. These little orcs that are like wearing nothing but rags, have clubs and knives as weapons, and rush forward. Behind them is the calm, measured advance of the Black Mordor orcs, a much more determined and serious force, but front are these orcs that will soak up many arrows. Running behind them are trolls with ladders. They're sprinting at an unbelievable rate as they rush forward, and they're going to try and bridge the moat with these massive ladders and see if they can make their way across. And it seems all of a sudden that chaos breaks, and the army moves, and there is a rumble in the ground from how many steps are being taken at once. The Witch King hasn't moved, is still watching from his perch in the sky, and is watching to see what happens, it seems, before making some kind of decision. The mouth of Sauron has turned his horse and has moved back into the depths of the army somewhere. The ladders are coming. Let's roll initiative.
This is amazing.
It is amazing. My initiative roll is average. Oh no, hang on.
And 7. Okay, so there's an action that you can take, special action, which is basically push a ladder. So it's, you use it as an action and you make a check, probably athletics, unless you can think of a different way of doing it, to try and push the ladder back down. You need 3 successful checks to push a ladder away from the wall, because they're massive, these ladders. For every round that a ladder remains, baddies will keep coming up onto the wall. There are 4 ladders in your vicinity. Okay, so you can see the trolls rush forward, and many of them are taken down by these like insane volleys of elvish arrows that fly. And you can see like it takes many arrows to take down one of these Olog high. Troll is not even the correct word for them. They're bigger, and they're much more intelligent than like a cave troll or something you would have seen before. They're much more akin to the King in Silver that you would have seen, or the strange Olog high you saw in the library in Methadras that was discussing orcish philosophy. They are masters of their kind, maybe the most evolved kind of orc, goblin. They're wearing these thick metal armor plates and are rushing forward, and as the arrows sort of like many of them glance against, enough arrow fire comes through to drop enough of them so that instead of the 10 ladders there are only 4 that touch the walls. This is from the insane weight of dwarvish crossbows, of Gondorian longbows, of elvish fire, and from the siege weapons beyond as well, firing down at these trolls. As they stumble, there is a boom, boom, boom. They're moving at such speed that they stumble and roll, sometimes crushing lesser snaga orcs, which are these slave orcs that are being forced forward. But 4 ladders reach the wall and are pressed against them now. Beregond, you are first to act. Already there are a great many of these orcs scaling, and there's maybe 3 or 4 on each rung of the ladder as they're moving up. They climb in a way like goblins, Some of them climbing on the opposite side, the underside of the ladder, as they make their way up.
Baragon clunks his way to the ladder in his newly donned heavy armor of Gondor, not moving with his usual grace, but definitely sort of struggling with the unfamiliar armor, and he, but with his poleaxe, he hooks it under one of the he hooks it under the top rung and prepares to push, realizing it will be very heavy. He says, to me, and readies his action to help somebody else as they join him and try to push it away from the wall.
Okay.
But he wants to coordinate
Perfect.
a push.
All right, you rush to one of these ladders and you begin to ready to push. And this little pale orc, really the size of a goblin, elongated arms, climbs over the top and leaps forward and tries to jump onto you. It's got, I mean, you wouldn't even call it a spear. It's a stone at the end of a stick that's been tied together with some string, and it's going to try and shank you with it. Getting only a 13, which I'm sure misses you. It'll graze against your thankfully new armor. And it's then throws itself onto the wall and starts swinging wildly with the spear. There is a of arrows from behind you as elves fire up onto the wall and take some damage from that. Oh, it's 1. Okay. Finding their mark still, barely starting to understand what's happening. They're going to fire, and they will catch graze this first snag a spear. Another one runs up a different part of the wall, leaping over the top, and is going to try and swing at you, Glyndare, moving through the crowd to strike at something it thinks is important. It's a 19 on the die, so that'll be a 22 to hit.
That'll hit.
Okay. 3 damage, which I think you just ignore straight up. So it just slashes at you with its sword and is unable to get through. Tretch the Craven, one of these little runty orcs, he's got a club in one hand, and he has like pieces of bark tied to his other forearm that he's using as a shield. He like leaps over the wall and then like tries to hide in one of the crenellations of the wall, like basically like into one of those crevices there, and like hides himself down, and he's going to try and hide. Okay. Vuk, the broken, barely stumbles over the top of a ladder. You can see that his ankle has been snapped by a troll, but he still pulled himself onto the wall, and he's like dragging himself along the floor. He's going to try and stick his knife into your boot, Faroth.
Does he go after me, Vuk?
Did I skip you? Oh, I'm looking at the wrong list.
Yeah, so it's Faroth, Glyndare, then Vuk.
Sorry, yep. So
No, don't worry. I thought I'd just jump in there. But I do have a question, actually. Yes. So to go and help Baragon with the ladder, will that just take my turn?
So it'll be your action to push the ladder, and you'll have advantage.
Okay, so... Yeah, so in that case, then Faroth will make his way to Baragon's position. I imagine cutting through the old smaller one, parrying, things like that, and falls next to Baragon's side, ready for the push.
Okay, well, he's helping you, so if you want to take your action...
Oh, I see. Okay, let's do that now. Is that athletics then?
Yes, that's the best.
Yep. Let's see. 18.
Okay, yep. So you dislodge one of the hooks that are holding the ladder in place, and it sort of wobbles for a second. It'll need more checks to get the ladder all the way down, but it's definitely a success.
I imagine we push it sort of a foot or two away from the wall, but it's still sort of leaning towards the wall, and the weight will push it back if we weaken, but we've got some momentum on it.
Yeah, and there you can see that there are some of these like orcs that go flying from the top of it as it wobbles a little bit, and like some grab each other and pull each other down. But it's still a threat at this moment. Glyndar.
Yep.
Glindire's hatred of the orc has, for the last, it's been tens of minutes, I assume, that everything played out before the ladders hit the walls. And so he's just, the rage within him and the need for vengeance has just been flowing through his veins. And as the first ladders touch the walls and the first orcs start pouring over, he fluidly moves into action as he usually does. This cold rage burning within him, so I'll use my bonus action to enter that. But strangely to him, the rage that he feels somehow is deeper and more ancient than even that of his 700 years as Glyndire. There's something else there. And perhaps some of the other elven lords looking across at him with his now whitened hair as he moves through with his slicing as he moves through the hordes of orcs with his elven blade. Perhaps they would see someone else within him. And I rolled a couple of strikes, so I think he was the one of the snaggers was just missed him, so he'd probably try and dispatch that one first and then move along. So that was a 27 to hit for 14 damage.
Okay, that will kill him.
Yep, so he'll do that and then move along. So basically he wants to try and team up and help push these ladders, but he'll probably be doing some slicing to allow Faroth and Baragon to actually do the pushing.
Mm-hmm.
So who's over there?
So you just killed the snag a spear. I think you probably weren't even looking. It was like you're walking through the crowd and just like as you go. There's still the snag a sword in that area. He's following you. He tried to stab you and missed.
I did.
So actually, you'll kill that one. Sorry. So the spear would still be there in front of you if you wanted to attack him.
Perfect. Yeah, he'll cut that one down as well. That was a 20 to hit for 11 damage.
Okay, 11 won't kill him in one. But almost does. You hack off one of his arms and he's yelling in pain, but he still has the knife in one hand and is determined to shank you in the boot.
Yeah, I imagine he's got those wild eyes because as the elvish blade with dwarven runes along it glows blue as it hacks into him. Yep.
Yeah, I mean your weapons are glowing at an incandescent level at this stage. There are more orcs here than maybe have ever been anywhere. So it's definitely bright. Okay, that was Glyndar. Vuk is going to throw himself over the top of the ladder, and he's going to he's going to try and save the ladder. So he's going to attack at you, Faroth. He only gets a 11, which will miss you.
Well, Faroth is able to move out of the way
easily. As the ladder sort of like wobbles back, you can see at the top one of them has a little bow and arrow that he's going to fire from the top of the ladder. For a 19 on the die, which will probably hit, so 21.
That'll do it.
Okay. 8 damage.
Ooh.
Wow.
Gets through Anariel's defenses.
Yep, that's right. Deducted by 7.
Calling him Eagle Eye now. Okay. That was the archer. Nariel.
Mechanic question. If I try and push the ladder that Faroth and Baragon are getting on, do I get advantage on that one as well?
So Faroth had advantage because Baragon took the help action.
Okay.
So if you want to take the help action, you'll give the next person advantage. Or if you have a way of like increasing other people's athletics checks or something, that would be really useful. I think you could also reasonably use an order to let someone make an attack, and I would let that be.
Okay, that was going to be my next question, is because I have orders for attacks, but nothing for pushing a ladder.
I think that's fine.
Yes, then as my action, I will call to Faroth and Baragon and tell them to push, and one of you can make an attack and push the ladder.
Are we using different skills, like skill challenge, Lloyd, or is it just athletics?
I think athletics makes the most sense. If there's another, basically, I have it like you could use other skills if you can explain it, but athletics is the lowest DC because it makes the most sense.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's the one I should go with. Unless Baragon, do you want to give it a go this time?
No, you do it. You do.
Yeah. Okay. So, is this weird? This is just a normal roll though, without advantage this time, right?
Yes.
Yeah. The same as before, 18.
Okay. Yep. So another strike, maybe like pushing with the tip of your sword, like you push the ladder further out. It's like wobbles almost all the way back, and several orcs go flying. And then the change in the weight, as like some of them pull in the other direction, will move it back towards the wall. And the ladder is 60 feet high, so there are orcs flying all over the place. And at the bottom, there are like 2 trolls who are trying to keep it like from tipping over. But it's very close to tipping all the way down. Okay, that was an Ariel. Grows the puke, this pathetic little shit of an orc, leaps from the ladder over onto the wall, and he's going to try and land on top of you, Farath, and pull you off the wall. Can you make me an athletics check?
He's hopefully.
That's 14.
Oh my god.
It's not good. What'd you get?
Sorry, didn't you hear? I said 15. So
okay.
Just
yeah. Okay, so he leaps and lands on top of you, and the momentum sort of swings, and you like are brought close to one of those crenellations in the wall, but you're able to like grab it at the last second and pull yourself back onto the wall. You are grappled at the moment by Grows the Puke. Lure the Stench is going to fling himself across as well, and he is going to try and strike at you, Anariel, since you're the one shouting, giving orders, and he always hates being shouted at and given orders to. But he gets a 1, so he misses entirely. He gets so close to striking you, and then he sees you, and he's like stunned that you're like an elf, and the power of like your voice and the wind catches your hair in this particular way, and he just like drops the knife in wonder. Okay, Baragon, back to you. Oh, sorry. The end of that round, there are still ladders, so we will add more boys.
How many ladders are there on the wall in total? We've got. We're dealing with 1.
There are 4 total.
4 on our reach.
Yep. Baragon shouts to Glindair. Glindair, show your hate of the orc by attacking 60 at once. Not forget the 1s or 2s that make it up here. And he readies him, because he's not very strong. He readies himself to aid. On the call of your king, push! And he readies himself to aid Faroth when he makes his check.
Okay, perfect. Another. You finished?
I'm just thinking whether any of my bonus actions hide, disengage. No, none of them can be used here. So that's all I'm doing. Yep.
All right. The Elvish arrows fire.
You could hide amongst the allies.
The Elvish arrows fire up into the wall, and they fire at the Snaga runty orcs here up on the wall with you. One of them catches the Snaga spear in the eye, and he stumbles from the wall. And all the others are hit and graze, so they'll each take 4 damage. This seems really strong now, but we are adding more guys every round. It's gonna get real scary real quick. Okay. Tretch, the Craven, hiding in his position, is going to now leap out and try and gut you, Glindair, who will attack with advantage. Try another d20. Yep. Ooh, 17 plus 3, 20. Does that hit you?
Yep.
God, I can't believe it. Come on, Tretch. Wow. 17 damage.
Come on, Tretch. Oh, dang. Okay, so down to 10 and then halved. So 5. Nice.
Miserable.
So ridiculous. I love it.
So he does find a weak point in the armor, and it's literally your boot. He like stabs his knife down into your toes, and there is quite a bit of pain. And he looks up like he thinks that's going to have killed you, and realizes that he has made a mistake. Farath.
Well, Farrath is grappled at this point with this orc, but what he's going to try and do is trying to break the grapple and push this orc that's on him into the ladder to hopefully help it on its way. If that's okay.
Yeah, I think you can still take actions while you are grappled. You just can't move.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just going to try and throw this orc at it then, I guess. That's all right. Let's see. Athletics. 15.
That is correct. That's the correct amount.
Excellent.
So you throw poor Gruz the puke, like grab him by his like spindly hair and like fling him over your shoulder, and he smacks into the top of the ladder enough to like that it like rocks the base of the ladder for a second. It does that sort of like skip thing, and it's pushing in the wrong direction, and the trolls are sort of trying to normalize it in the wrong direction, and it just many of the orcs are just flattened and killed immediately. The ladder has cracked from the fall. And there's a big cheer that goes up from the wall at the success of this. So that is 3 ladders now.
Glinda, you've got 2. Farah's got 60.
Glinda, it's your turn.
Yeah, at Baragon's calling, Glinda was looking over, or he like nodded to him like, he could defeat 60 foes at once. And he sort of nodded and looked between Baragon and the ladder, or the nearest ladder, and then was going to make him move over there because he agrees completely. But then this orc stabbed him in the foot. And his vengeance is immediately redirected back down to this pathetic creature at his feet.
Oh, you liability.
No.
Tretch the Craven.
Yeah.
Saving the lives of 60 orcs. The hero, really.
All right, I'm gonna put it up to like some kind of wisdom save, I think, and I think I get advantage on that, right? Yes. Okay.
You do, because I'm staring you down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So he catches an arrow out the corner of the eye, and okay, yeah. So he makes the save. So he just gives a little kick to the orc at his foot,
he's got an opportunity to attack you.
Yeah.
And he got a crit.
Oh my god.
Incredible.
Oh, that's brilliant.
13 damage.
See, I don't think I have anything to like negate opportunity. No. 13. Okay, so that'll be down to 6 and then 3. Okay.
So as you're leaving, he just like stabs down into your boot a bunch of times. And you're able to get away from
Raven. And so he'll do that, and he'll yeah, I assume we're allowed to sort of cinematically cut down orcs along the way or whatever.
You will need to, yes, for sure.
Yeah. To make his way through to the nearest ladder, and I think he will do it in a way that he's sort of in his fluid motion, that the way that he fights, he's sort of spinning and building momentum as he goes, because he's got 40-foot movement speed as well, and so he'll do it in a way that he launches into the ladder. I think maybe might be a bit too silly, but I was imagining him sort of using that momentum to like kick the ladder away and grab onto the wall. So athletics check. Ooh, 15 on the die, so that'll be 23.
Yes, definitely success. Okay,
excellent.
That's going to be ladder 2. All right.
So 1 of 3 successes on that ladder, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So he sort of kicks it and manages to not slide off the edge himself as he grabs and holds back. Maybe drops his sword as well. The way this is being narrated is just putting him into so much shit. And then the ladder sort of heaves away a bit, but then crashes back down with the weight of the orcs that are climbing up.
Yep. It crashes down and like a shower of orcs land on the wall. Vuk, the broken, crawling around on the ground. He's going to try and get a shot at you, Beragond, with his knife. But he only gets a 12, so he'll miss you. The eagle-eyed archer on the... Oh, his ladder fell. He's dead. Anoriel.
Anariel, seeing Glendair's movement, will almost tap into his more singular focus and feel a similar cold fury coming across her as she focuses in on a third ladder and will weave across the top of the wall in and out among men and elves and orcs and dwarves who fight to reach the ladder, perhaps with some Gondorian man, and will aid him and shove it. Very badly. With advantage, it was a 1 and a 2.
Oh, good God. Okay.
Damn.
Yeah, so you try, but this ladder is particularly heavy, well balanced. There are orcs all along its weight, and a lot of them at the bottom. So when you try to push, there's not enough force, and you won't get a success, unfortunately. I'll say you're at ladder 3. Okay, Rose the Puke will be moving across the top of the wall, and he is going to try and well, I guess he can smell blood from Glendair and will go after you. Let's see what you can get. It's 12, so he'll miss you. The stench is still close to you, Faroth. Oh, Gruz the Puke was thrown onto the ladder. He's dead. But the stench remains, and he will he will try and shank you in the back of your knee, Faroth.
Certainly.
Ooh, an 18.
Won't hit me unless that's unmodified.
That is modified.
Oh, then it misses.
Okay.
My AC is 20.
Here it goes, Lure the Stench, the best attack you've ever made. And no one will even hear about it. Okay, 4 more Snaga spears climb over the top of the wall and land among you. They're going to rush all of them together at you and Ariel and try and take you down.
Do they go before me?
Yes, they go at the end of the round. Sorry, I have a list here, but it has hit points and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
13 is not going to hit you, and neither will an 8. Neither will a critical fail, and neither will a 12. So they rush up to you and Ariel, and they try to get at you. And they're... Oh, wait, they have pack tactics. Sorry, I have to do that again. So they're all around you, and because they're all around you, they have advantage. So we'll see if this goes any better. At 13 is no good. 5 is no good. Another 13. I cannot roll to save my life today. Or maybe I'm just saving up for the Nazgul fight. But that is a 20, which I think might hit you.
That one will hit.
Okay. 1 on the damage dice, so 3 damage. So they're all around you and they're trying to get at you, but their weapons are almost useless. Like you wouldn't even call them weapons usually. Like they're barely equipped with anything. Like many of them literally have sticks that they picked up on the way here, or rocks. Their job is to make sure that you are busy when the actual orcs arrive, and they're doing that. Yeah, you're surrounded by these Snaga spears. At the end of this round, there are 3 ladders, so we will add 3 more bad guys. Okay, Beragond.
Beragond, seeing one of the ladders crashing below him, looks around, concentrate on the ladders! And he looks around, sees Anariel sort of being overwhelmed at the top of one of the ladders, and tries to pick a path along the top the along the top of the battlements to her, but doesn't see one. So he just jumps over the side of the wall and starts clumping around on the outside of the wall. But he slightly misjudged the weight of his armor, and he sort of slips 5-10 feet down the wall before catching himself, and then skipping up and joining an Ariel. And just basically same tactic. He hooks the bill that he's picked up under the top rung of the ladder and says, on the count of 3, and is ready to help.
Okay, perfect. Arrows fire. Ooh, nice. And they will do damage to all of the boys on top of the wall. They're literally sailing like an inch from your face, these arrows, but they're hitting perfectly all of the Snaga, and avoiding all of the friendly troops with pinpoint accuracy. Tretch, the Craven, hero of Mordor, is going to attempt to hide in the insanity, as he has done previously. And he absolutely kills it. The thing about these orcs is you don't even kind of notice that they're there. There's so many of them, they're teeming all over. It's very hard to keep in mind where any of them are. And if you were walking in like the plains and you saw one, you would kind of ignore them. They're sort of very forgettable, and there's something about them that makes them very easy to hide. Faroth.
And it's clearly working, for Faroth's attention is elsewhere. He has watched as his comrade has hurled himself over the wall. In panic, he looks over the edge to see what Beregond is doing. Slight relief washing over him as he rushes to, definitely make use of that help action to start pushing that ladder now. So with advantage. Oh God, that isn't good at all. That's 12. The highest of that is 12.
Not going to do it, unfortunately.
No, shit. Yeah, I think he trips over one of these orcs that he took no measure of in the heat of the moment. And he finds himself slammed against where the ladder is, but with not enough strength to push it.
As you ready yourself to make the push, one of them grabs at your ankle and pulls your leg from under you a little. And you don't quite get the purchase that you need. Glyndar.
Galadrim, Tolo Arnin, come with me. And as Glindar's glowing blade lies at his feet, and he's trying to push off from the stones to push this ladder away again, he's calling out to the elven archers to cover him. That's a crit on the strength check on the athletics.
Nice. Okay, I'll have that be 2.
Awesome.
Which ladder are you at?
That was number 2, so that's
2,
the
that'll
third
get it done.
success.
Yep. Okay.
Yes. So yeah, as he because he's kind of on top of the wall, like between some of the crenellations, how I narrated it before. Mm-hmm. So I think he's sort of literally pushing off with all of his might, like, and leaning himself away, and then sort of throws it just as one orc comes up face to face with him, and a Galadrim arrow just takes that one out, and it falls down. And then he sneers at the other one that's coming right up, and he pushes it away and sort of uses that momentum to just keep himself up on the wall, and steps back down and picks up his sword as the ladder crashes back down.
Okay.
And he'll turn to face the other orcs that are already up here. Or
Nice.
actually, probably it's sword in hand, turn to rush towards the next ladder, actually, and he'd have his movement, so he could get over there to one of them. Right. Is there one that's unmanned still, number 4?
Yeah, so Beregond and Faroth are at number 3. And an Ariel, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So the other one is unmanned.
Okay, yeah. Agunda will rush over to that one with his 40-foot movement.
Yep. Okay. Vuk, the Broken, is dragging himself along the battlements here, and he's going to try and bite at your ankle, Faroth. You're not looking. But he bites down on some metal, and you can hear like a crack of a broken tooth, and he is unable to do any damage to you. And Ariel, there are 4 of these guys around you. Naga.
And Ariel kind of pushes past one so that she's shoulder to shoulder with Feroth, and will try and ignore these Snaga in order to try and push the ladder.
Okay, you'll have to. Oh, you were at the ladder already.
I was at the ladder, yeah.
Okay, fine.
So I'm just body checking him. That's an 18 on the die, so that ought to do it.
Yep, nice success. All right, yeah. How do you do it?
I think with Feroth and Baragond already there, there's enough momentum when an Ariel presses again that the momentum shoves it. You feel it wobble a little as the 3 of them work on it.
Nice. The stench yet lingers, and so he will move his way through and try and shove his poisoned blade into your back, Glindair. With a 16, which will almost certainly miss you.
Correct.
Okay, the 4 Snaga spears that surround you and Ariel will once again try and shank you to death with their pack tactics.
Any of them go first?
No, they're focused on Ariel because she's the one shouting and giving orders.
Mhm.
In classic Nick Dawson terms, you're wearing the shiny hat, which is when you used to always kill me in the Roman legionary game. It's because I was a centurion, always the way.
Yeah. You went down every single time.
Yeah. You've got the brush on your head. Okay, so the first one misses you still. That's a 12, which will miss you. That's a 16. Will miss you. Unbelievable. With advantage this is as well, and that's a 13, so they'll all miss you. Jesus, you guys are unstoppable. Thankfully, there's an unlimited amount of them, so they stab all around you, but are unable to get any purchase on you. And over one of the other ladders, so ladder number 4, which is where you're, Glindair, 4 other Snaga climb over the top, and they're going to attack you. These ones have little shanking blades. Ooh, 17 plus 2 is 19.
That'll hit.
Nice, that's 1. Another 17 plus 2 is 19. 17, does that hit?
No. AC 18.
Okay. And, okay, so 2 hits.
All right. Roll that D4 damage.
It's a D6, actually.
I'll have you know.
So
These are the finest sticks.
8 from one and 4 from the other.
Okay, so 1 damage total.
It's really just a comedy situation here.
Yeah.
So at the end of this turn, there are still 2 ladders remaining, so we will have more bad guys. These are not Snaga. You can see black orcs climb over the top, 3 of them, and they stand, basically put themselves so that they're surrounded by a screen of the little orcs, and get ready to fight. Okay, Baragond.
Okay. There are how close is this ladder that we're on to tipping?
It needs 2 more.
2 more successes.
Yes.
And the one where Glindair is?
That's on 0 so far.
Okay. So where and there's Faroth and an Ariel here.
Yes.
Guiding things. Okay. I again jump over the wall and I'm gonna do a Baragond. Baragond jumps over the wall. As he's running along the outside of the wall, he grabs one of the hooks or something that they've been using, and some of the cables and ties that. Well, actually, he's got some rope around his wrapped around him, and he attaches one end of the one end of the cable, one end of the hooks to this end of this sort of string, elven string, or finely made thinnish but solid rope, and ties the other end to an arrow, and runs over, gets to the top of the fourth ladder, but I think that'll be his entire movement. He's been using, I think, to do these, tie both and do all that would be an interaction. So he's basically made it to the top of the ladder, and he'll attach it. He'll attach the hook to the top rung of the ladder, and that's all he can do this round, I think.
Okay.
So he's on the top of the ladder and ready to act next turn.
Sounds good. Okay. The arrows fire from beneath, and they will hit many of these points of damage. You can see one of the black orcs takes an arrow in the shoulder, but many of the Snaga are just like, it's the arrows fire, and there's like a carpet of as many of them hit the ground. Tretch the Craven will reveal himself in a glorious strike and try and take down his hated foe Glindair. See if he can manage it. 18.
That'll hit.
Oh, baby. Oh, I love this guy. I would be so sad when he dies. That'll be 16 damage.
Nice, okay.
Good man, Tretch.
So down to 9, and then, okay, so 5.
Yeah.
On your Tretch.
Yep, that's his action to attack, and then he'll bonus action to hide. But he doesn't do a good job. He tries to duck behind, but actually behind him is a black orc, and he bounces against him, and you can still see him.
You're so dead, Tretch.
Farad.
Yeah, I think because Farrell failed on the push last time, he was tripped. What he does is he grabs up one of these orcs that were responsible for this, quickly using it as a human shield against some incoming arrows, casting its body aside and then running back at the arrow to give it a mighty kick with an athletics. So we need 2 more for this one, don't we? But no advantage this time.
Yeah.
17.
17 is good. That's another success.
Yeah, so he just buries his foot into it and kicks it harder from where Inariel had lifted it.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, it's wobbling, close to falling, but still just barely hanging on. Glindair.
Glindair was up at this next ladder and was about to try and push it, and he was grabbed from behind by this orc who tried to shank him. He did, didn't he? Yeah, he shanked him and then tried to flee and bumped into this black orc. And so Glindair turns around swiftly, as he turns in one fluid motion with a swipe of his blade for a 20 to hit against Tretch for 14 damage.
Oh, and so dies hero of Mordor, Tretch Craven.
And is just another body of in the carpet, basically, and faced immediately afterwards. Obviously, is this Glindair is faced immediately afterwards by the black orc that was standing there behind him, or beside him, I suppose. He's probably come up this ladder, and so that's he'll engage with that orc as well. Sparing a very brief glance over to the ladder, which he would rather be pushing on, but 26 to hit for 18 damage.
Hey.
So I think they have a bit of a exchange. This is no Tretch, this is no Snugger, and they have a bit of a flurry of blows, and Glindair manages to nick his glowing blade into the flesh of this black orc.
Okay, very nice. Glindair, Uke, still standing, still dragging himself across the floor, still trying to get purchase on the King of Gondor, if you can manage it. It's an 18. 19, I think he said, is it? Your AC?
20 is my AC
20.
now, thanks to my new
Goodness.
sword. Yes.
Yep. Okay, so Vuk isn't able to get the correct strike. Anariel.
Anariel, reaches her hand out to Feroth and will grasp arms with him and use the momentum to kind of lean even farther off, and with an 18 on the die, will shove the ladder the rest of the way over.
Nice. Yep. It collapses down onto the ground, taking a great many orcs with it. Only one ladder remains. The stench is still here. And he is going to also try and kill the King of Gondor. But he misses spectacularly, able to do so. The 4 spears will strike at you again, Anario, all in tandem. Oh, 21.
Yep.
Oh my god, it's 2 crits. It's 2
No.
20s. Where can I show?
Jesus. Okay, but that's only one roll, right?
I know, but look at that. That never happened.
It only counts as one.
It's a super
He's like,
crit.
I feel it should count as more. Yeah.
It
You've
still
got
only counts as one.
2 brutal wounds.
Oh my god. I can't believe it. Okay, so that was the second attack. So a crit, a hit. 15, no good. And a 20. Wow. Okay. So that'll be 4d6.
Making up for it.
Yeah, they're really going for it this round. So 18, 19, 23.
Oh, but I'm furying, so I'm resistant. Oh, finally!
So they manage to, one of them sort of gets your attention and leaves to one side, and as you like turn that direction, 3 of them all shank their little spears into one of your legs. The armor blocks the most of it, but even so, there's some effect. The 3 around you, Glyndar. The 4 around you, Glyndar. Swords. They're going to try and get you. First one misses. Second one gets a 17, which I think misses. 18, which might be good.
That'll hit, yep.
And 19, so 2 hits.
Okay.
So 5 damage and 7 damage. Never mind.
So 0.
The Black Orcs, though, are going to move forward and with some sort of synchronized movement, they're going to try and strike you down since you're at the ladder, Glyndar. The first one is going to attack and try and trip you with the first. An 18 on the die, so a 20 more than 20 will hit. So an athletics, please.
Yep. Advantage from...
You see a 17.
Yeah, I beat it. 17 on the die.
Okay. So he tries to trip you. Failing to do that, then we'll take the hammer in his hand and try and... No, sorry. The blunt end of his poleaxe and try and get you with it. It's a crit. Hot damn. Where's my D10?
Do you not have absorb?
I think that depends because I did use them all before.
Yeah, you're coming into all of you are coming into this fight fully
Fresh stuff.
into
Okay,
this
yeah.
battle fully good to go.
Cool.
This is for the
so, yeah, I'll
damage.
use... Yeah.
The other guys weren't dealing brutal wounds because they're so pathetic. So that's, I mean, they roll crits, but they're not going to brutally wound you. You're too heroic for that. That'll be 9 and 5, so 14 damage from this guy.
Cool.
Next one will do exactly the same thing. He will try to trip you. He'll hit with a 19, I think, and then I need you to make another athletics.
Yep. Total is for athletics. My thing's 14 plus 8 is 20.
More than 17. Okay.
Cool.
And then he will attack. He gets a 17, which misses you. And then the third guy will do the same thing. That's going to be a 22 to hit, and I need another athletics.
Ooh, 15.
Oh, nice. So he'll knock you down.
Finally.
Finally. And then he will swing overhead with his weapon with advantage for a crit. 4 and 9 is 13 plus 5 is 18 damage.
Ooh, nice. So down to 6. Okay. And so yeah, that'll use my second absorb from my elven chainmail.
Okay.
So I imagine he like impales me and is surprised that the blade doesn't pierce through.
Yep. Okay, nice. So that was the black orcs. At the end of this round, there's one ladder left, so we will get more black orcs. Only 2. There's 5 up here now. Beragond.
Beragond makes a final check to make sure that the hook is firmly attached to the top of the rung of the ladder, and that the other end of the rope is firmly attached to his arrow, while he unshoulders his bow of Celebrimbor, and he looks. He hops up onto one of the crenellations and looks up and down the line for their allies have had siege weapons destroying trolls and things below, and he looks up and down and sees if he can see ballista, any part of the ballista, any ballista sort of within range of his bow.
An allied one?
Yes.
Yes, definitely. So on the other side of the wall, there'd be plenty of those.
Yep. So he just when he sees a ballista about to shoot, he just shoots the end of his arrow with a rope attached into the ballista bolt. So as the bolt fires, it'll probably miss its target, but the momentum of the ballista bolt will will hit the ladder and hopefully pull it out from the wall.
Yep, that's great.
If you see what I mean.
Yep, it's very clever, so I'm just going to let it happen. So you'll thunk, and then the ballista bolt will and there's like this of the rope until it goes taut, and then there's this like big shock, and the ladder sort of like flings back for a second and is enough to knock it down. Okay, so at this stage, like, you know, these
Isengard! He shouts and takes a position back to back over Glinda on the floor.
Okay.
And then looks up at the black orc and goes, gulp.
The Elvish archers will fire and deal damage. Oh, they'll kill the stench. Poor guy. Okay, Faroth.
So Faroth is going to divert his attention from the ladders. He's seeing that the wall is becoming covered with these black orcs, wielding the flame in the north. It glows in his hand as he brings his attacks to bear against the nearest black orc he can strike at with 2 attacks, hopefully. First one, 25.
Yes.
That's a 3 on the dice, so that's going to miss. But the first one lands, and as it does, every round I can now declare 1 attack that does radiant damage.
Ooh, nice.
In addition to the normal damage that it does. So that is 14 points of slashing damage.
That'll chop his head right off.
And 8 radiant. I had to say it. There is a blast of radiant light as the first orc falls to Faroth.
Sick. Yep. They'll recoil for a moment from the bright glow of it. Glindar.
Glindar is on the ground, beset by these massive orcs. having been pulled down by the smaller ones, as I believe it happened. And he'll get himself to his feet with slashing out with his sword and sort of wheeling himself around, cloak spinning gloriously as he sort of does this single move to do that and stand up and have hold the enemies away at sword point. And how many is he surrounded by right now? And I know he's got Beregond there at least as well.
So many.
Yeah.
There's 4 little orcs and 4 black orcs.
Okay.
Yeah,
I suppose the question would be in order to resist his urge to just keep hacking into these ones and go and actually go to the ladder. Beregond.
The ladder's gone.
Yeah.
Oh, it is gone now. Oh, that was the last one. Oh, perfect then. Okay, here we go. So he does that and then squares off with the black orc that he was first engaged with, and crosses blades with him once more and gets a 27 and a crit.
Yeah, both hit.
For a total of 34 damage.
That'll just straight up murder one.
Great. So yeah, it'll be that Aragorn versus Lurtz sort of crossing blades, and then he'll give him a headbutt or something like that, and then just take his head clean off and turn to face the next one.
Perfect. Nariel.
Anariel is surrounded by these smaller orcs. She's less concerned with them, and will call out to Feroth, who I think you said there's 4 near him.
So there are 4 sword-wielding Snaga around Glyndare and where Feroth is, yeah.
What about the big ones?
There are 3 of those left.
Okay.
And there's 4 little guys around you.
Okay. Who I believe Feroth and Glyndare are both close to the big ones, though, right?
Yes.
No, Faroth, is Beregond next to, or did Faroth move over there as well?
I just went up to the black orcs and killed one of them, so I'm next to those. Yeah,
You're all kind of clumped together, I think. Yeah.
You're all next to them. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll come together. Yeah. So she'll yell at Feroth to strike the one that's next to him, and you may take an attack action.
Oh my goodness, I will. Taking the inspiration through Cinderine, I imagine. That's 17 to hit the Black Orc.
That will not hit.
No, he parries it before Faroth can get the strike in.
Okay. The 4 around you, Anariel, will continue their spear shanking dance. See if they can. That's a crit. Roll this many dice. It's got to happen sometimes. 18, and a miss.
That is 3 hits.
Oh, it's very bad damage.
Resistant.
Bad as in, like, bad for me. It's not.
I see. I was just like, please remember, she has resistance.
So 9 and 8, so 17. As they strike at you, as you sort of are giving orders and stuff, like, they spend their whole lives being shouted at by big orcs and whipped, and they think that you are that, and so that's why they're all descending on you, because you're the one who's doing the shouting, and get some revenge. The swords around you, Glyndare, they're all going to just try and take you down, basically, and strike at you as often as they can. An 18, a miss, and a miss. 18 hit?
18 will hit. Yep.
3 damage. The black orcs, one of them is going to attack at each of you who are adjacent, so Beregond, Glyndare, and Faroth. So they'll miss you with the first Beregond and more than 20 on the second.
Against me?
Yes.
Okay.
For 14 damage.
Okay. Okay. How about this? I've got. How would this work? I've got avoidance, so I can use my reaction to take half damage. That would bring it down to 7. Shall I take 3 points damage and take half after I lose the 7, after I lose the 7 from an Ariel, or should I half it and then lose the 7 and thus take 0?
I think the operations is reaction to the damage, you half it. So then you would half the -7, right? So all damage.
I'll take 3 points damage rather than 0. Okay.
Yeah, the damage is reduced by 7, and then you take the reaction, as far as I see it.
Okay. Yep, that makes sense.
Okay, then one of them will swing at you, Faroth, for a 23 to hit.
It's gonna hit.
And I need you to make me an athletics check, please. DC 17.
Oh god, athletics. 19.
Okay, you are not knocked on the ground, but a 18 will miss you, so he'll miss you. He was attempting to knock you down and then strike, and you didn't fall down, so his strike is clumsy.
Did the first one not count as an attack then? Do I not take damage for that one?
You don't take damage, but he did hit you. But his hit was to knock you down.
Okay.
Revenge should be tattooed on your forehead.
Well, that's what I was about to ask. Thought, should I ask about that? But yeah, I'll definitely go for revenge then if that counts.
Yeah.
That is 27 to hit.
Yes.
It's not my turn technically, so I can't do radiant, but I can do normal damage against him. So that's 15 points of slashing damage against the Black Orc.
Okay. And the third will attack at you, Glindair. He misses the first, and he gets a 19 on the second, which I think is the magic number.
18 AC, yep, that hits.
Okay, so you'll take 12.
Oof.
Okay, then it's Beragond.
Beragond tries to slash out at one of the ones on the one on Faroth. Actually, no. He's got his bow in his hand and he doesn't want to drop it, so he'll. Damn it! Basically, what he'll do is, rather than drop the bow of Celebrimbor, he'll put it over his back and draw his sword. But that he can't take an attack as well.
Okay. The archers will fire, dealing damage. Okay, they're gonna actually take out all of the 4 little ones around you with that damage. That's an incredible thing to see. So you can see they're like getting ready to strike, and then it's like all these arrows hit, and they all just like, and the ones around Uglinda all just thunk down to the ground in this like carefully orchestrated attack from the elves. Faroth, it is your turn.
Yeah, so Faroth has sent the Black Hawk staggering back with his revenge shot, and he whirls the blade in front of him before then making 2 attacks against him. That is 29 on the first.
Yes.
21 for the second.
2 hits.
Sorry, I should have pre-rolled. Hang on.
All right.
17 point of slashing for the first one.
That will kill the first orc that's already wounded.
Should I re-roll the second attack, or was it both?
They're all the same. Yeah, so you're fine. You can attack another one, basically.
Yeah, so then he cuts through that one and then goes to put this in the other one that he finds next to him. 14 points of slashing damage with an additional 3 radiant damage as he slices into the next one.
Okay, Glindair.
Glindair is crossing blades with another one of the Black Orcs.
Yeah.
And I imagine the Black Orc has him on the back foot. Glindair is attacking recklessly, which I imagine for him looks like he's doing lots of spins and exposing his back and things like that to get extra momentum. And pre-roll a 19 and a 21 to hit.
Those both hit.
Cool. So that'll be 30 damage.
That'll just kill one. There's only one left.
So he's on the back. He's on the back foot and he's pressed up against the wall of the crenellations, I imagine. And then just as the orc has him sort of held over the edge and grins with his disgusting teeth, I'm going to gut you like a pig. Glindair's blade just manages to skewer through him, glowing from the other side.
Nice. And Ariel.
And Ariel sees Glindair's blade flashing, and she will call to him like, "Hi Gwanured," strike it again, and you can have an attack action. You can hit another one.
Ooh, awesome. So he'll shove this orc off of him and then swing at the nearest one. That's only going to be a 15 to hit.
That will miss, fortunately.
Yeah.
This remaining black orc sees that his minutes are numbered, and will strike out at you, Glendair. He misses his first, but he hits with the second for 11 damage. Strikes out with the pole arm in his hand. Merigond.
Are there any? Is this the only one still fighting, or are there
it's
any others?
the only named enemy still fighting. There's still lots of orcs on the
I mean,
wall
I
up and
know,
down,
I know the battle hasn't finished,
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
haven't saved Middle Earth yet.
Yeah,
but-
he's the only named. Yeah, only one in the initiative.
Okay. So he tries, but fighting clumsily with his newfound heavy armor, he only hits an AC of 14. So I think that's not
That's gonna miss. Yep.
good. Pardon?
That's gonna miss.
Yep. Yes.
Okay.
The-
The elves from below will kill him with doing 9 damage with their shot. So as Farath gets ready to strike at him, an arrow sprouts out of the back of his head, and he is taken down. And there is a brief respite atop the wall as you've pushed away the ladders, and you are able to kill most of the orcs up here, and you're able to bring some sort of order to the situation. I have a progress clock, a little thing on my prep. Basically, 1 success so far. You held them off the wall. This stage, it's giving you enough time to do like one of the segments of forging. What you're doing, you're trying to buy time.
oh, cool.
So
That's really cool.
that's
Yeah.
the way I'm going to do it. So, all right. I think maybe that's a good place to call it today, since you need to go anyway, relatively soon. So you succeeded on pushing the ladders back. You can see already below they are swarming again, and there will be another strike. And you can see more worryingly that the Witch King has like moved his hand ever so slightly, and 2 of the Nazgul have flown forward to attempt something. There's also this group of trolls that are rushing forwards with like large rocks. It looks like they're going to attempt to dam the moat to make a bridge across. But all of that we will find out next time. Come back to Against the Shadow.
They form a line.